Welcome to HCS Analyzer tutorial for the cell-by-cell data analysis. So previously I showed you how to generate a database based on a CSV file. We will now directly open this database and take a look in this chapter at all the different visualization of those data. So now, instead of creating a database, we can directly load this database. To do that, just click on Load Database and go directly to the directory where your database has been saved. As described before, this is all the information about this database, and because this database is quite small, we will put everything in memory. So now, well by well and plate by plate, the data are loaded directly from this database. Let's take a look more deep into detail about the different way to visualize those data. As you can see now, and for the moment, what is appearing are just color, and when you move your mouse over each well, what you can see are just scalar value. So it means that what we are looking at are the average value of all the cells that has been loaded on this well. So, but what makes a difference is when you click on one of the descriptors and you take a look at information, what you can see is this type of data has been defined as histogram. This is different from, by example, cell count, which is defined as single. It means that HCS Analyzer has two different modes. You can load and keep in memory all the data that are coming from a cell-by-cell analysis, or just display one single value per well. So now let's take a look at how we can display those histograms. That's pretty simple. Choose your descriptor as usual, but instead of checking average view, you can move to histogram view. And of course, what is displayed now are histogram. There's different way to look at those histogram. And to change the display mode, just move to option and go to histogram analysis and display. As you can see, there are three different radio buttons at this stage. Automated, that's the default one, where the software is looking for the minimum and the maximum value of all the histogram over this plate and take the minimum and the maximum as a reference. You can also change this one and choose your own starting and ending point. And as you can see, we are just looking at a subpart of those histogram. There's also another way, which is well by well adjust. It means that in this case, well by well, the minimum and the maximum value will be taken into account to display those histogram. So let's keep it, by example, on manual. Let's press apply and OK. And let's move to histogram information. As you can see, we can edit this value. What you have to understand is histogram and the number of bins of each histogram has no consequence on the data by themselves. It's just a way to display those values. So if we are moving, by example, to something like 10, you can see that the histogram are changing, and of course the number of bins is changing too. Now we can come back to average view and nothing will be changed. But what is important to understand is behind those histograms there's a direct link to the raw data. To take a look at this, the first thing that we can click is info, and we have a more precise view of those histograms. If you want more information about it, it will tell you the number of cells that has been used to define the histogram, and more information about the histogram by itself, the number of bins and the step that has been used to generate this histogram. But now we can also directly access the raw data by right-clicking on it and click on Display Data. And here you can see that for this well we have access to all the cells with all the different values. So here we have about 360 different cells with all the descriptor cell by cell. You can display the scalar point of those values also by choosing one descriptor in X and another descriptor in Y. You can move like this, but you can also choose constant, means that the radius of all the different circles in this scalar point are constant, but you can also define it related to one descriptor can give you a pretty nice overview of what you are looking at. Now let's close this, and let's say that's the end for this chapter. On the next chapter we'll take a look how to perform a cell-by-cell classification of our phenotype.